Back with us on the SportsMax Zone, we continue to talk football. Watford's head coach Claudio Ranieri says star striker Emmanuel will not be released for the Africa Cup of Nations, set to be played in Cameroon from January 9 to February 6. The 24-year-old Dennis, who has 8 league goals this season, had been provisionally included in Nigeria's 28-man squad. But Ranieri says Nigerian officials missed the deadline to inform the club of their intention to officially pick him for the tournament. Ranieri says this administrative error gave Watford the option of choosing whether or not to release Dennis for international duty.
I knew they were speaking, the board and the Nigeria board, and I accept every decision they find, and that's, for me, it's finished.
It's great news for Watford, but have you disrespected as a club AFCON, do you think?
No. They have a lot of players. We were ready to give the players, but they didn't do this. And then the two boards spoke, and then for me it's okay. I am only the manager, only the coach, and I accept everything.
And how does Emmanuel feel about not going to AFCON now?
Now I speak with him, but of course he wanted to go to play, but also he wanted to help Watford.
Nigeria's Football Federation published their squad on Instagram with Dennis's name not included. Statement said, "Inform Rapid Radio Emmanuel Dennis, whose English Premiership club is bearing fangs, has been excused to provide room for Czech Republic-based forward Peter Olejinka." Watford are struggling in the EPL, sitting 2 points above the relegation zone. They'll be more than happy to have kept Dennis for the next 4 weeks, given he's been involved in 36% or been responsible for 36% of their 22 league goals this campaign. Brent Sancho is still with us. Brent, Watford, wrong or right?
I think they're wrong. And this is a situation where, I myself as a player experience and playing for Trinidad and Tobago, many times managers, put in undue pressure on players, told you're going back to Trinidad and a jolly up, and why you have to go to that insignificant Gold Cup or World Cup qualifier. That's the kind of conversation that you would get as a player. And this is something that's kept on building. I've kept an eye on the African Nations Cup. I know for myself what I experienced as well. And don't give me the rubbish about late or whatever the case is. This is a situation, if the player has been called into a squad, give him the opportunity to go and play. Because I'm very sure, George and Lance, that if this was a European Cup competition, they would have allowed a Grealish to go. They would have allowed to any Italian player, and Spanish, etc., etc. So, yeah, I have a problem with it. I think Watford they're very wrong in what they're doing, and they should have allowed the player to go.
But question for you, Brent. I know that there's a lot of support for the view that you've expressed, but let me provoke that view. Let me interrogate that view a little bit. Because isn't it true that this situation always happens where the Africa Cup of Nations is concerned? Because it's the only major tournament that's played smack bang in the middle of a season. The World Cup is held in the summer break. The Copa America is held in the summer break. The Euros are held in the summer break. Yeah? So all of the other big competitions are held when there is no club football happening. So there's not this club versus country row that attends to the Africa Cup of Nations. And because it happens during the season, the people who are responsible for the various clubs seem to be unfairly withholding players from leaving them at a crucial point when they have this club versus country row that doesn't materialize for a World Cup, a Copa America, or a European Championship. And so we're looking at it from an unfair perspective. What about that?
Well, remember the Gold Cup was held in January, I believe, or February around that time. We'll be back when as well. And I agree with you that, yes, maybe the tournament is not held at the best time possible for clubs, but I would share this with you. They knew this from July when they signed the player. They knew this from when the player was coming in, that he represents an African nation. This is a year of African Nations Cup, so you would have to, of course, cut your suit accordingly. And that is all I'm saying to these clubs. They're very aware of the type of players they've signed, so make sure that you put things in place for that situation. We hear clubs talk about the South American. I know it's a bit different qualifiers and the travel and the possibility of players missing. We hear it as well for other, but you never hear that conversation ever when it comes to European football, no matter when tournaments are held or whatever the case may be. The point is, there is a tinge and has always been a tinge of some sort of slight, of some sort of disrespect as it relates to the African Nations Cup, the Asian Nations Cup, and of course, the Gold Cup as well. There's always been that, and I stand by that. At the end of the day, I think Watford is wrong. I hear what you're saying in terms of when the tournament is being held, but they knew from July when this tournament was going to be held, so they should not have withheld the player.
Yeah, and probably to strengthen your point as well, Brent, and the point George made is a good one about the timing of the tournament, but you stretched it beyond that, and you mentioned even for World Cup qualifiers when you were playing and other important fixtures, the situation was the same, and that stretched beyond even, a clash of dates.
Yeah, it stretched beyond that, and I think what viewers need to realize is at the end of the day, when a player is sitting in that manager's office and the manager is saying to the player, look, why do you need to go there? And belittles. As I said, I've had it as a player. I've had teammates express the same view that the manager tends to belittle it because they don't see it as significant. I don't know what the conversation is between Dennis and Ranieri, but as I said, we go back to Jurgen Klopp's statement, what he made about that little tournament. It has gone on time and time again. Yes, I see the point of it being held at the wrong time, but we have to remember this is one of the top tournaments in world football, and the respect should be given it. And I listened to Ian Wright's comment as it relates to even, of course, the ability to see the tournament. It's not widely covered. It's not a tournament that is given the type of coverage that it should be given. And as I said, it seems like step by step, every year that this tournament comes up, it's becoming and getting closer to the head. I remember we had our conversation recently about World Cup every 2 years and the impact it has in Africa, Asia, etc. These things, guys, are starting to snowball, and you're seeing it slowly coming. And at some point, this is going to come to a head.
Yeah, George and Brent, I remember back, I think it was the 2008 edition of the Africa Cup of Nations when I was at the Caribbean Media Corporation headquartered in Barbados, where as a management group we decided to buy the rights for the Africa Cup of Nations. Mikey White, the sales and marketing manager at the time, along with the CEO, Errol Clark, because we felt, as Brent just mentioned, that this tournament didn't get the sort of prominence that it deserved. At that time, Samuel Eto'o and Didier Drogba and players and Solomon Kalou were some of the top players in Africa at the time, and it was very well received. So there is an issue about the prominence that this Africa Cup of Nations is given, George and Brent.
But I'm sorry, gentlemen, on that latter point, I'm not blaming the powers that be. Brent, I'm blaming squarely those men, and they're men only, those men who run African football. There is no way I can have a confederation with 53 members of FIFA. FIFA has 200 and odd. There are 50 odd countries, 53 countries to be precise, on the African continent. About 52 of them are FIFA members, or 51 of them are FIFA members. That's clout that no other confederation has. There is no way I'm having that voting clout, gentlemen, and I'm not having my Premier Continental Championship broadcast in a way similar to the other big ones. So I'm blaming Brent, I'm blaming squarely the Issa Hayatous and the other gentlemen of football who've done other things, you know what I'm talking about, with African football, but not the right things, which is promoted in such a way and market it so that it gets the broadcast that it deserves.
No, listen, I totally agree with you there, because at the end of the day, the blame should start right there. Of course, there's conversation about the tournament, I think, in the next year or two, shifting back to the summer possibly. But you're right. At the end of the day, they've sold themselves short, and they've allowed this, of course, situation to garner and to grow and to become what it is now. Because at the end of the day, that disrespect has been allowed by these African nations. And only now we are seeing, when the types of presidents that are coming in, Samuel Eto'o now the president of Cameroon, and people of that ilk are starting to stand up and say, listen, we're not going to take it. But the root cause of the problem, as you rightfully said, George, started way long time ago. But however, I must say, now is the time for this to be switched, to be changed, the focus to be differently. And of course, the type of plaudits that should be given to the tournament of such should start, of course, starting to flourish here. And I'm hoping that this situation now brings forward the flourishing that we think that this tournament deserves.
Absolutely. Happy New Year, Brent. Thank you for your contribution over 2021, and we'll see you again next week, which is the New Year.
Same to you guys. Enjoy.
Excellent. Break time. Back with more on the SportsMax Zone.